My husband? Oh, he's just my old level. That's what my wife, Olivia, said into a microphone at her company's celebration dinner, right before the entire room laughed at me. They thought I was the harmless, outdated guy she'd outgrown. But they forgot one thing: the ground she stood on was mine. And when I moved, she was going to fall. Before we go deeper, don't forget to subscribe, hit like, and leave a comment. Your support keeps these real stories alive. It all really started months earlier. Olivia had just been promoted to senior management at a rapidly growing marketing firm downtown. New office, higher salary, a shiny title she repeated every chance she got. And suddenly everything about our life was beneath her level. Our apartment? Too plain. Our car? Too average. My job running a small tech consulting business from home? Embarrassing. Her tone changed overnight, from proud to condescending. At first, I tried to ignore it. I told myself she was just excited, adjusting to success. But the little digs became daily routine. You're holding me back, Ethan. You think too small. I need someone who inspires me to rise higher, not someone content being ordinary. She'd say ordinary like it was a disease. Every Thursday night, her company hosted social mixers for top performers only. Suddenly, she was out late. New outfits. Heels she used to complain hurt too much. Perfume she never wore around me. And Instagram stories, champagne glasses, flashy smiles, and me nowhere in the frame. When I asked why she never invited me, she laughed. You'd feel out of place, babe. Everyone there is successful. That one stung. But I let it slide. One evening, we had dinner at home. Takeout containers, cheap wine, candles I lit to make things feel normal again. She sat scrolling her phone, hardly touching her plate. Notifications popping up with names I didn't recognize. She sighed dramatically. You know, Ethan, I deserve luxury. And being with you shouldn't feel like charity work. I swallowed hard. I stared at the food I no longer had an appetite for. I'd always been the calm one, the builder, the supporter, the man who planned for the future. But now all she saw was someone slowing her down. She started describing a coworker, so ambitious, a visionary, a leader. She compared everything he did to everything I didn't. My silence annoyed her. Aren't you going to defend yourself? She snapped. No, I said quietly. You've already decided who I am. She scoffed, rolling her eyes. Exactly. Predictable. That was the night I learned silence can be sharper than anger. Then came the night of the corporate party, the night that changed everything. She told me to dress up. Try not to embarrass me, she joked. I put on my best suit and drove us downtown. The venue was fancy, crystal chandeliers, marble floors, sleek business types everywhere. I was proud of her. I was ready to celebrate her success, even if she no longer celebrated anything about me. When it was time for speeches, Olivia strutted up like she owned the building. She thanked her team, toasted her company, and then, out of nowhere, she gestured toward me. And here's my husband Ethan, she announced with a grin. He's, well, my previous level. She laughed. The room laughed. People actually clapped. I stood there, frozen in humiliation. The sound of their amusement echoing like nails being hammered into the dignity I had left. She winked at me like I should have found it funny. Like I should enjoy being the joke. But I didn't smile. Not a muscle moved. Inside, something old died, and something new stretched its wings. I walked to her side quietly. The mic was still in her hand. Everyone was waiting for my reaction. The weak husband laughed. The awkward shrugged. I leaned in close, so only she could hear me. If I'm your past level, then don't expect me in your future. Her smirk faded. Confusion flickered. She opened her mouth, but I didn't wait for the words. I turned and walked out. No scene. No yelling. No apology. Just a man finally remembering his worth. And behind me, the laughter stopped. Not because they understood yet, but because they felt a shift. A quiet one. A powerful one. I stepped into the night air. Cold, refreshing, honest, and breathed for the first time in far too long. I didn't know exactly what came next. But I knew this. I would rise, and she would see every inch of it. When I left that building, I didn't slam the door or make a speech. I simply disappeared from the world where my wife used me as her stepping stone. I drove with no destination, just distance. The farther the city lights faded behind me, the clearer everything became. Olivia didn't just grow in her career. She convinced herself she had outgrown me. She mistook kindness for weakness, loyalty for limitation. And for years, I let her believe that lie. The next morning, I woke up in a small, cheap hotel room. Beige wallpaper, buzzing AC, a bed that felt like cardboard. And I was free. I didn't check my phone. I didn't go home. I sat at the edge of the bed and breathed in the quiet. That's when my decision crystallized. I would never again allow myself to be the background character in my own life that I hired a lawyer. A good one, not out of revenge, but because respect has a price. Our shared finances, frozen until legal separation terms were finalized. Access to my accounts, cut off. I wasn't going to let my success bankroll her ego any longer. While paperwork was being filed, I relocated to a small rental loft above an old warehouse. Exposed brick, steel beams, no decor. It felt like starting from zero, but it also felt like possibility that I focused on my tech business like my life depended on it. Late nights, early mornings, calls, strategy, deals, improvements. The fire inside me finally had a purpose. Turns out, when no one is standing on your shoulders, you can move faster. I reached out to colleagues I'd helped in the past. They didn't forget my support. Doors opened. Investors listened. Partnerships formed. Meanwhile, Olivia sent messages. First annoyed. So you're seriously sulking? Then irritated. You made me look stupid leaving like that. Then concerned. Why aren't you coming home? Then panicked. We need to talk. You're scaring me. I didn't answer. My silence wasn't a weapon. It was a boundary. Weeks passed. My body changed before I even noticed. Shoulders broader from stress relief workouts. Posture straighter from confidence. I upgraded my look. Not to impress her, but to match the level inside me rising up. Tailored clothes. Clean cut. Shoes that said I meant business. New places replaced old routines. Networking events, industry conferences, private meetings in offices with floor-to-ceiling windows. I shook hands with people who saw my potential instead of mocking it. For the first time, I saw myself the way others had always hoped I would. Point one night, at a tech investor gathering, I met Brooke. CEO, strategic genius. Someone whose presence filled the room without needing to raise her voice. She approached me first, curious about the company I had rebuilt almost from scratch. We talked business, but there was an electricity behind every word. She didn't ask what level I was on. She recognized I was climbing fast. After the event, we shared a drink on a terrace overlooking the city. She asked where I came from, not geographically, but emotionally. I told her the truth. I spent years letting someone convince me I wasn't enough. She smiled, shaking her head gently. Sounds like they were wrong. Her confidence wasn't sharp like Olivia's. It was warm and reassuring. A different kind of strength. While my world expanded, Olivia's began to shrink. I heard from mutual acquaintances that she wasn't adapting well to the new demands of her role. Stress hitting hard. Mistakes adding up. The same colleagues who laughed with her now whispered behind her back. She posted fewer glamorous stories, and the smiles in them never reached her eyes. Point one evening, my phone lit up with a name I used to rush for. Now, it was just another notification, Olivia. The message was long, a messy mix of apologies and confusion. I don't understand what happened. Why did you change? Why did you leave me behind? I stared at the screen in silence. There was a time I would have written paragraphs back, trying to soothe her insecurity. But that version of me was long gone. Over the next few months, my business officially skyrocketed. A major acquisition offer came in from a corporation bigger than anything Olivia's company worked with. When negotiations were finalized and papers signed, my company joined theirs at a valuation that changed my entire future. That I stood in the new office they gave me. High above the skyline, glass walls, a view that screamed achievement. And I realized something. I didn't rise to prove her wrong. I rose because the ground beneath me had always been stronger than she acknowledged. That I didn't celebrate with Olivia. I didn't even think about telling her. I celebrated with Brooke. And while we clinked glasses on that rooftop, city lights glowing like approval from the universe, one thought crossed my mind. She said I wasn't on her level anymore. She was right. Success has a way of changing the way people look at you. But more importantly, it changes the way you look at yourself. In the mornings, I would step into that high-rise office and feel like every inch of the floor beneath me was hard-earned. Meetings that once intimidated me now felt like opportunities one could bend in my direction. My inbox was full of congratulatory messages. People who once ignored me now requested my time. Life finally had momentum. My momentum. Brooke and I became a powerful team. She wasn't threatened by ambition, she respected it. She didn't want me to be smaller than her, or quieter, or less. If anything, she pushed me to shine brighter. We spent late nights working on new expansion strategies, ordering dinner in, scribbling ideas across massive whiteboards. I'd catch her watching me sometimes, a slight smile on her face, like she was proud of what she saw. It was a look Olivia never gave me. Admiration without competition. One Saturday afternoon, Brooke invited me to join her at a charity gala hosted by major investors. "You belong in rooms like this now," she said. The words hit me deeper than she realized. Belonging, something I hadn't felt in my marriage for years. I put on a tailored dark gray suit, the kind that made the man wearing it look like he owned the building he walked into. When I arrived upstairs, Brooke was waiting, dressed in a dark green gown that made her look unstoppable. She approached with a grin. "Now that," she said, giving me a slow, approving glance, "is the level I knew you had in you." The night moved like silk, smooth, rich, full of promise. Investors clinked glasses with me. Executives asked how they could collaborate. Even the event photographer made a point of taking photos of us, like we were already a headline. Brooke and I weren't a couple, not yet, but the chemistry flickered bright enough for anyone in the room to feel it. And then I saw her, Olivia, standing near the bar, alone, dressed in a glittery silver dress that tried its best to keep up with the setting. Her hair was done, her makeup perfect, but her shoulders slouched just a little, like she wasn't sure if she belonged there anymore. She noticed me first. Her expression froze, shock, jealousy, panic twisting together. I could practically hear her thoughts. How is he here? How is he with her? How did he rise so fast? She took a step toward us, but she didn't rush. She tried to compose her face, lifting her chin, smoothing her dress. The version of herself she wanted the world to see was still fighting to survive. When she reached us, she painted on a smile. "Ethan," she said softly, voice trembling under the gloss. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I'm surprised you're surprised," I replied. "This is my world now." Brooke extended her hand politely but firmly. "Brooke Mitchell," she introduced herself, the name carrying weight I didn't even need to explain. Olivia blinked, and the realization hit. She had worshipped people like Brooke, dreamed of sitting at tables where Brooke sat. And now I was beside her, not beneath her. Her smile cracked. "So you two are?" "We work closely," Brooke answered before I could. "Ethan's company merger has been one of the smartest moves we've made this year." Olivia's face lost some color. She looked around quickly, almost hoping someone else might drag her away from this new reality. But nobody was watching her. They were watching us. I could feel the balance shift. For years, she had positioned herself above me. Better, higher, deserving more. But now, the floor she stood on had disappeared. She swallowed, desperation rising in her voice. "Ethan, can we talk?" "Alone." Brooke looked to me. She didn't need to stake a claim. She trusted what she saw in me. I nodded once, and we stepped away to a quiet corner. "What happened to you?" Olivia asked, almost breathless. "I stopped letting you define me," I said. Her eyes glistened. "I made a mistake. I was stressed. I thought I needed someone who pushed me forward." "I was always pushing forward," I replied. "You just never looked in the right direction." She shook her head like she wanted to wake up from a nightmare. "I miss you. I miss us. We can still fix everything." I looked at her, really looked, at the woman who once vowed to build a life with me, but instead tried to stand taller by stepping on my shoulders. "No," I said quietly. "We can't." Her breathing hitched. "Ethan, I didn't mean those things. You know that, right?" "Of course you meant them," I said. "That was the real you. You only regret it because now you're the one at the bottom." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. For the first time, she had no insult ready, no excuse, no joke at my expense. The music swelled in the background. Laughter and success filled the room around us. A world she thought she'd ascend into forever. But this time, she wasn't the star. She wasn't even a supporting role that I wasn't gloating. I wasn't angry, I was simply finished. The waiter passed, setting down new drinks. I glanced at Olivia one last time and spoke with calm finality. "You were right. We aren't on the same level anymore." I turned away, leaving her standing alone, not humiliated by a public scene, but crushed by undeniable truth. Brooke welcomed me back with a warm look that didn't question anything. She handed me a glass. To Rising, she said that I clinked mine to hers. To Rising. As the night went on, Olivia remained in the corner, ignored, forgotten, watching the success she once mocked walk farther away with every passing minute that I didn't look back again. After that gala, life didn't slow down. It only grew louder, brighter, bigger. I was invited to summits in different cities, private investor meetings, opportunities that used to feel out of reach. Every day felt like stepping on a higher ground. And every step I took up that staircase was one I built myself. No borrowed prestige. No borrowed confidence. No borrowed ambition. Meanwhile, Olivia's world was shifting beneath her feet, like sand turning into water. I didn't watch it happen closely, but word travels fast in business circles. Her department was underperforming. Projects she oversaw were leaking money. Her upward momentum hit a ceiling she wasn't prepared for. A few months earlier, she walked like the building belonged to her. Now she kept her head down, avoiding the very eyes that once praised her. She had risen fast, too fast, and reality had finally caught up. One afternoon, after a major meeting about expanding into international markets, I received a text from an unfamiliar number. It was short. Please, meet me. I stared at the message for a moment, knowing who it had to be. Curiosity didn't pull me there, closure did. We met at a quiet cafe near the lake. Olivia arrived late, rushing in, hair slightly messy, makeup still trying to do more than her expression allowed. She sat across from me, hands trembling around a coffee cup she never drank from. Gone was the arrogance, the smirk, the superiority. Her eyes lifted slowly, full of fear she couldn't hide. They demoted me, she said. They said I wasn't performing, that I wasn't focused. They're giving my role to someone else. I didn't say anything. She wasn't looking for advice. She was looking for rescue. You probably already know this, she continued, voice cracking. Your company, well, they're the ones acquiring us. I nodded slowly. The connection wasn't accidental. My company, and Brooks' leadership, had grown to the point where the acquisition was not just strategic, it was inevitable. Olivia stared at me like she was seeing an entirely different person. Everyone's whispering. They think I'm losing it. They think I'm just temporary. She broke eye contact, swallowing hard. Ethan, I didn't understand. I thought rising meant leaving everything behind. I thought I needed to find someone better to feel worthy. She looked up again, eyes wet. But the truth is, you were always the level I wanted to reach. And I pushed you away because I was scared you'd rise without me. Every word she said came from a place she had never dared to show before. Humility, vulnerability, regret. A long time ago, hearing that would have shattered me. But now, it just sounded like the consequence of choices finally echoing back. Ethan, she whispered, voice trembling like glass. Please, don't let me fall. The silence between us tightened. I could see her heart was bruised. I could see she finally understood how high the drop was. I could see the woman I once loved was no longer standing in front of me. She was already gone before I ever walked away. I leaned back in my chair, breathing slow and steady. I'm not letting you fall, I said. You jumped. She collapsed into quiet sobs, holding herself like the weight of her decisions finally crushed her. Not because I punished her, but because truth finally did. I stood up. She looked at me like she was begging gravity to hold her together. I placed money on the table for my coffee and said only what needed to be said. You wanted levels, I said calmly. But you never learned how to climb. You just stood on people hoping they wouldn't move. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. I continued, my voice steady, not cruel. You thought I was below you, but I was just the ground you relied on. And when I rose, you realized you never knew how to stand. Her tears fell harder. She reached out a hand, not to attack, not to control, but to plead with the past. I didn't take it. I stepped away, and her hand fell to the table, shaking. I walked out into the sunlight, the same sunlight I had walked into the night I left her party. Except this time, there was no confusion, no pain, no loss. Only clarity, only pride, only forward. Brooke was waiting outside in her car, window down, sunglasses on, smiling the way someone does when they choose you not because they need to, but because they want to. I got in. She glanced at me, reading the entire story in my silence. You okay? She asked. I nodded. Yeah. Finally. As we drove off, I looked back once, just long enough to see Olivia slowly crumble into the seat she thought she deserved. a seat that was never really hers. And then I faced forward again, the only direction worth considering. Because some people rise by stepping on others, and some rise by building themselves. She mistook the first for success. I learned the second was unstoppable. And in that moment, one truth rang louder than any applause. She thought she outgrew me. But really? She never even reached me. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Your support keeps these powerful tales coming.